illustrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the US. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. Okay, there we go. Let's get that zoomed in and ready to go. All right, let's see who we have on. This week is Sneak Peek Week. We're going to be doing a card using several sneak peeks actually from upcoming Stampin' Up products that will be available to customers beginning May 5th. So let's go ahead and see who we have on. See if this is going to work for me for some reason. Okay, there we go. Was not showing me my live feed. Let's see if I can get that to come up. And there we go. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Okay, so Sunset Coast. This is a 16-piece photopolymer stamp set and a 12-piece die set. We're going to be using one die from this bundle, and then the only stamps I've used from this are actually on the envelope. In addition to that, we have the Scenic Coast 6x6 paper stack. This is a 48 sheet pack. You get 8 sheets of 6 designs, double-sided. So you've got these beautiful iridescent scenes, and then the back sides can be used for any purpose whatsoever. So this is a pretty versatile pack of paper. So we're going to be using that. Let me get that back in there. I've already pulled my pieces. Then we're also going to be using Words and Wishes. Excuse me. This is a pretty good stamp set for birthdays and what have you. It has outside sentiments, inside sentiments, quite a few of them, and then you get these dies when you purchase the bundle. So you've got thank, happy, best, wishes for you, and birthday. So you can do all kinds of things, especially when you mix that with the basic sentiments in the Words and Wishes. So we're going to be using that tonight. And then we're also going to be pulling in from Rolling Waves. This is an online exclusive, and what we're going to be using from this stamp and die set is these small seashells and then the coordinating dies to cut them. Now, is that necessary? No, there are some seashells that are in the Sunset Coast bundle, and you could use those, but they were a little bit too big for my liking on this particular project, so I pulled in the smaller ones from Rolling Waves. And then my inside sentiment, because of the way the card is designed, I needed a smaller sentiment, and so I pulled in this Sending Salutations. This will be coming out May 5th. It is a standalone stamp set, and I highly recommend these greetings. You have got congratulations on your achievement. I'm here for you. I hope all things wonderful are headed your way. Cheers to you. Sending best wishes for health and healing to a marvelous person on their birthday. That's actually the one we'll be using. Wishing you a bright and beautiful future. Thank you so much for your friendship. Here's to a new chapter. I don't know what I'd do without you, and I truly appreciate all you do. Okay, So those are the products. Now let's go ahead and get started. We are doing a fun fold card. This card I've actually made before with scenic paper. It's my favorite way to show off an entire piece of 6x6 paper. So you take your standard card size, A2. So you've got 5.5 by 8.5. And for this one, we score it at 1.5 and then again at 4.25. Okay, so this piece here is going to be the back of our card, and then we fold this over and fold this back so that we have this little Z type fold right there. Okay, so that's how we're going to start. And then we're going to need 2 pieces of the 6x6. We're not going to use them both, but we are going to use parts of them. So I'm going to start with 1, and I'm going to decide whether I'm cutting off the bottom or the top, and I'm going to cut off 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut this at 5.25. All right, and I'm going to save this piece. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to rotate it so that I have the top of my pattern at the top of my score or my trimmer, and the bottom of the pattern at the near the headed toward the bottom. And then we're going to cut this first at 2 3/4. Okay. And then we're going to cut this at 1.25, and that will leave us with a 2-inch piece. Okay. So you could actually just flip this around and cut this edge at 2 inches, but we're just going to cut that there, and then we'll have this at 2 inches. Okay. So we've got that. Oh, sorry, you couldn't even see those measurements. So again, we're cutting this at 2 3/4. Then we cut 1.25, and that left us with 2 inches. And we're going to leave those in the order in which we cut them. Okay. And I'm going to set this aside. We'll bring it back in a bit. But for now, we're going to get started adhering our pieces together. Okay. So we're going to start with our 2 3/4 inch piece. That was the first piece. And we're actually going to adhere this to this section here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run 2 Stampin' Seal pieces from top to bottom. Okay, and I'm going to do that on the left side of the paper. Then, to ensure that I'm good, I'm going to come in here, and I'm not going to go all the way to the top or all the way to the bottom. And I'm just going to run some seal along that edge. Okay, then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to center it between this edge and this edge. Okay, so I've got this. All right, then I'm going to open this up, lay that out. I'm going to take that 1 1/4 inch piece of paper, and I'm going to add some Stampin' Seal to that. And then I'm going to lay that flat and place this in here. I'm going to leave just a tiny bit of a gap on both sides between the score line, between both the score lines. Okay, so move that over. I don't have that quite straight. Let me pop this back up. I didn't press it down, so it should move fairly easily. Because for some reason, I just can't get that. Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, so now we've got that. And then we're going to take this last piece of paper designer series paper, and we're going to add it right here with just a tiny gap next to the fold of the inside of our card. Okay, I'm going to run that on my silicone mat to get that going again. Okay, and then we're going to add this in here, like so, just a little bit of a gap. And now our scene is completely intact when the card is opened. Okay, now this little section you could choose to do whatever you'd like with. I chose to pull in another piece of this designer series paper. So for this, I need a piece that is 2.5 by 5 1/4. Because remember, this one was 2 3/4, but 2 3/4 is too wide for this. So we're going to go 2.5. Okay. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look and see how that's going to line up. So I am going to take 3/4 of an inch off the bottom of that. And I kind of like the way that looks right there, like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from this edge right here. Okay. So for that, I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to cut it at 2.5 because I want the right side of that. I'm going to leave this the full length for another project. And then I'm going to cut this at 5 1/4. Okay. And then I've got that piece left. All right. So now when I add this to my card and I close my card, that's what I'm going to have. Okay. Pretty cohesive looking scene. Silicone mat. Let's get that going. All right. And I'm just going to lay that down. We'll center that between the score line and the outside edge of our card. And now when we fold that down, this is what we have with that scene. Okay. Hello, Tracy. Hello, Cher. Yeah, Cher, it is beautiful paper, isn't it? Okay, so that's what we have. Now, we're going to set that aside. We're done with that for the moment. And we're going to bring in our dies. So from the Sunset Coast dies, I've taken this image right here, this die, and I've taken a 3 1/8 inch square piece of paper, and I've placed this on there, and I ran that through my die cut machine, my Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and this is what I have. Okay, so I did that ahead to save us some time and keep me from bringing in the big Stampin' Cut and Emboss. And then we're going to take from Words and Wishes dies, we're going to take the Happy, and I'm going to take the outside bubble part on a piece of basic black, and I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, and then I've got this bubble cut for my words. Okay, then for my actual word that you can read, the detailed part, I've got the word happy, and on a piece of crushed curry with adhesive sheet on the back, I've taken and run that through my die cut machine. And now I have the word happy. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll add these to this. Okay, we'll do that in a minute or so. So let's get these out of the way. And then let's pull in some very vanilla paper. Did I give myself a piece? I didn't. And I cleaned up when my son-in-law was working in here today. Oh, there it is right there. It's right in front of my face here. Isn't that the way it always is? Okay, I've got my piece of very vanilla here. And we're going to take those stamps from Rolling Waves. And you don't have to put them on the same block because we're not using the same color. But just make it easier for ourselves. So we've got the seashell, a clamshell, and then whatever this shell is, I don't know. And we're going to take some blueberry bushel, and we're going to stamp our clamshells. We're going to stamp them once. Whoops, let's try that again. Once and twice, because I want first generation, second generation. And then I'm going to take Peach Pie. This is a retiring in color. It has just a few more, well, yeah, just a few more days left. I'm going to put that in Peach Pie, and I'm going to stamp that down. Okay, so we've got those. And then we'll bring in the Rolling Waves dies. Which I don't know where I set them already. That's crazy. Huh. Oh, I put them back. Okay. So then we've got the coordinating dies here. And we're going to cut both sets of the blueberry bushel. So we'll run that through. And we'll put that on there. And then when that's done, we'll run that through. Okay. And then we'll have our pieces. Okay, so we've got those. So we've got the big one in second generation, the small one in first generation, and then I've got this particular shell in Peach Pie. Right? So let's start our assembly. We're going to start here. I'm going to peel off the backing, the adhesive paper backing, and hopefully this won't give me fits. Okay, I just get a hold of that and then carefully peel that. And then add this to our card. And if you don't get it down just right the first time, you can take your little spatula from take your pick tool and lift it right up until you press that down. It's not totally solid. And then we're going to take the rest of our word and grab that backing. We can. Hang on. Let's see if this will work easier on this one. It wants to be a little bit stubborn. So just going to get the edge of my take your pick tool in there and pick that up and then carefully peel that away because it is a very gentle piece or a very fragile piece. So I've got the backing off, and that also peeled those little chads out of the center for me, so I didn't have to worry about that. And I'll take my happy and I'll lay that right down here on my black. Get that situated how I want it and give it a press. Okay? And then to make sure that that is good and adhered, I'm just going to take my bone folder and burnish it. And now that's not coming back up. Okay? So we've got happy. Now we're going to bring back in that piece of Very Vanilla because I forgot to stamp my birthday. And I'm going to take, I'm not really sure whether I should use the blueberry bushel. Let's try both. Blueberry bushel. So we're going to take birthday. This is again from the Words and Wishes. So we've got blueberry bushel. I'm not sure if I can get away with this. Let's see how it goes. So I'm just going to trim this down. With my trimmer here. Actually, I think I'm going to cut these at an angle. Okay, if we don't like the blueberry bushel, we'll switch it to black. Okay, now when you do that, if you want the same angle, take that piece that you snipped off and switch it over here, like so. Get your piece where you want it, and then snip along that edge. Okay? And then your angles will be the same on both ends. Okay. So we have that. We've got our shells. We've got our happy. Let's bring back in our card. This piece is going to go on here. But because this is 3 1/8 inches and this is 2 3/4, this is not quite going to fit. Okay? So how did I fix that problem? Well, what I did is I brought this down here where I wanted it, about right there. I'm going to give this a good mark with my erasable pen on both edges there. Okay, I'm going to bring back in that trimmer. And I'm going to find that edge right there, put that in the track, put this one in the track. I know you guys probably can't see that. And then I'm going to cut from both ends and remove that piece so that I have this left. Okay. Then we're going to add this to here. And we'll put our happy up here. And then we'll put our birthday, which just ran away, right here. And I think that's going to be perfect in the blue. So that's what I'm going to leave. Okay. So we've got that. Let's go ahead. We're going to add happy first. And I'm going to have the H sticking off onto the other side. So where am I going to put my glue? I'm going to put it on this side. And I'm just going to put some liquid glue here. Flip that over. Add that to my card. About like that. Give that a press. Make sure I don't have any glue on the back there. Okay. And then we need to add this piece. So for that, I'm going to take some of my black mini Stampin' Dimensionals. Okay. I'm going to flip this over. Hello, Laura, if I didn't already say hello. Okay, so we're going to take these And I'm going to put these as close to this edge as I can. And I'm going to put a lot. Someone might think it's excessive, but I don't want this to move. And I don't want it to get squished. So we're going to put some Stampin' Dimensionals to pop all this up. Give it a little depth and dimension. Let's see, if I put this one like this, can I make it work? Yep. Okay, got that. And then I'll put this down here. Put one there. And I know you guys, probably excessive. Put one here. And then I'm going to cut a couple of these in half. Whoops. That just removed the backing. I didn't get the actual dimensional. Then I can really bring that in there and stick that in there. And I can do the same here on the cottage. And then let's do a few more. I want this to really stand well. Okay, I think I'm good. Now let's remove all those backings. I'm just going to press on them with my thumbnail and pop them up. That way I can get a hold of the edge because it popped right up. Whoop, that took the whole thing off. That's not good. Let's get a new one. I must have got a little too aggressive there. Let's pull these up. This is probably the hardest part of the whole card right here. This card really does go together pretty quick and easy, and yet it has a good wow factor, I think. Now you could use some bigger dimensionals. I just chose to stick with the minis. In some of these other areas, the larger ones will fit. Okay, then I'm just going to lay this down here where I want it. I'm going to line this up with the edge of my designer series paper on the right. Make sure that's all nice and straight and give that a press when I'm happy with it. Okay, now we can take and add our birthday greeting, and we're going to stick that at the edge of this top piece. So for that, I'm going to lay some liquid glue down the bottom. And I'm going to put that right here, like that. Now, if you're worried about it falling, you could grab another one of those mini dimensionals, pull off the top, grab it, whoops, it moved, stick it under there. And that'll just give it a little bit of stability right there. Okay, so almost done. Uh-oh, there it goes. Whew, it's a good thing that showed back up. Okay, for these, I'm going to take some glue dots. And I'm just going to stick these on the mini glue dots. Just like that. Tear that off. I'm going to take that mini first one, and I'm going to set that down, and I'm not going to press it. I'm just going to set it in there. And then I'm going to take the smaller clamshell. Wow, those glue dots are really strong. Put that in there. Then we'll take our peach pie shell. And I'm going to stick this right along there like so. Okay. And the finishing touch for the front of our card is to bring in the Sunset Sparkle sequins. These are part of the Scenic Coast Suite. And for this, hang on, let me close up my glue before it dries out. I'm going to use the white one, the clear ones. Okay. And I'm going to put one over here. I'm going to take a larger one and press in there, and then I'll take another large one and put right up there. And when I'm happy with that, I'm going to give that a press. Okay, now for the inside of the card, what did I do with the inside of the card piece? It ran away. Okay, so for the inside of the card, I took that sentiment from Sending Salutations, this one coming on May 5th, and I stamped that in Blueberry Bushel. And then we're going to take this piece that came along the bottom, and we're going to decide how we want to do that. Do we want to do it this way? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just put that on just like this. So we're going to, remember that's that one from the 2.5-inch piece. This particular piece of Very Vanilla is 2 inches by 5.25. So we're going to cut off 1/2 inch of this. But this way, this little 2.5-inch by 1/2 inch piece will, or by 3/4 inch piece will not go to waste. We have a use for it. And then we'll add this. You can tell where I tried black ink, and then I thought, oh, I'm going to do Blueberry Bushel. But it's okay because no one's going to know. Well, let's see. Let's glue the top and the bottom so nobody lifts it up and looks. Okay, and then we're just going to place this right here like so. Now, here's the key to this piece. Don't just think you can put it out here, because if you do, it's going to stick out beyond your edges. So you need to be cognizant of that and tuck that in far enough so that the edges don't show. Okay, and I think we'll tuck that just a tiny bit further. Why does this piece not want to go where I want it to go? Okay, let's tuck that in a little bit closer, just so it doesn't show. I think I'm going to be okay there. And yes, so now I can give that a press. And there you have it. That is our sneak peek for today of the Scenic Coast, along with Words and Wishes and Sending Salutations. I hope you like that card. Now, for the envelope, I took some stamps from the Scenic Coast stamp set. So I can find that one. Come on. There it is. So I took this one And what I did for this is I took it and I inked it up in balmy blue, and then I used a sponge dauber in blueberry bushel to just dab around it, and then I stamped it. And for this part, I did the same thing, but instead I used peach pie and crushed curry. I started with crushed curry, and then I added a little touch of peach pie. This particular stamp is designed to fit perfectly in that little space. Okay, so you just hover until you get it just right, give it a stamp. And then I did the same thing with the sun. I used the sun and I inked it up in crushed curry, took the peach pie sponge, or actually, yeah, peach pie, and did that to give it that look. Okay, and that's how I got my envelope, so that I have this matching set like this. Okay, so I hope you like that card for tonight. I hope it inspires you. These cards really are quite simple to make. The hardest part is remembering to put the designer, that 2 3/4 inch piece of designer paper, on this little 1.5 inch fold, and then go from there. Okay, there you have it. That's what I have for you tonight. I will be back on Tuesday night on Facebook for some more projects made with some new product. Thanks everybody for joining me. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell for your notifications, so you'll know each time I upload a video and or go live. And all of these products are available in my online store. There will be a link in the description of this video once it posts. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend, and I will see you soon. Good night.